Hi there, I'm Bert Cruz, and you are,
Lana Holmes.
and we are Cruising the Highway Tomorrow podcast. And we are here in Bali, Indonesia. Tell me about how you ended up here.
Wow. Magical story.
Okay,
You know I love the word magical.
yes.
He jokes with me all the time about that. But I was working as a COO for a company in Northern California, and I had completed my work there, and one of the young people that I had hired asked me what I was going to do, and I said, well, I'm going to take a little time off, and I think I might go down to Peru. And they go, it's winter in Peru. And I went, so? And he said, you should go to Bali. It will change your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, Bali? Bali wasn't even on my radar. I mean, I didn't even think about Bali or Indonesia. It's like, that's a long way away. And it didn't make me nervous, but it was just outside of the scope of my thoughts. But I sort of noodled on it for a couple of weeks, and I woke up one morning and said, yep, I'm supposed to go to Bali. So I bought a one-way ticket.
This was when?
In 2019,
Okay.
and I flew here in August of 2019 and returned home to America, to California, in September. But by that time, I had made a decision that I wanted to try to live in Bali for a
Uh-huh.
while.
What snagged you the most? What grabbed your heart when you got here?
Well, it's kind of an odd story, but in the sense that it's a very feminine perspective. But I was walking home one night from eating out, and I was on a secluded path back to my villa, and there was nobody around. It was around 10:30 at night, and the sky was incredible with stars. And I suddenly caught myself and said, I don't feel any fear.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
And it was the first time in my whole life as a woman that I didn't feel afraid to be out at night by myself.
That's so wonderful because so many single women who are adventuresome are afraid to travel alone.
Exactly.
And go on a little bit more about
Wow.
that. Tell them why it's good
I
to travel
literally,
alone.
I really, well, first of all, just the experience alone sort of threw me into this whole cathartic, wow, have I ever felt that ever in my life? And I realized I hadn't, because in America, you're raised from the time you're a young woman or a young girl, you're raised to always be vigilant and be careful and blah, blah, blah. And I realized that I hadn't had any of those programs running through my head since
Wow.
I had been in Bali.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, how strange that I haven't even thought about being afraid.
That's awesome.
So, that said, I think places do change, but it was the first time I'd ever experienced that. How did that influence my life? I think it's influenced my life, my internal system, my operating system internally has calmed down.
Mm-hmm.
I am more relaxed as I move through my life.
Because you're in Bali or because of that experience?
That experience,
Wow.
plus I'm in Bali.
Okay.
Because you could have that experience, have had that experience and be in India,
Right.
and it wouldn't be the same.
Okay.
Because women are not safe in India.
Right. Has that experience allowed you to become more adventuresome in your travels as a single woman?
Yes,
That's
it
great.
has.
Awesome.
I mean, in fact, what's interesting is I love to travel the island. This is the biggest little island I've ever been on in my life, and I've been on a lot of islands, and I have never been on an island where didn't feel island bound.
Mm.
It's like
Interesting.
being on a huge continent.
Uh-huh.
You can get on your scooter and you can ride to all these different places and go through so many different terrains and so many different villages and so many different people.
Yeah.
It's just magical.
That's a wonderful
And I
description.
do it
Yeah.
all by myself.
Yeah.
And I've never felt afraid.
Okay. What about traveling beyond Bali, though?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to just be...
Yeah.
Bali is a Hindu country. It's
Yeah.
Hindu, and so their belief systems are toward each other and other humans is much different. The rest of Indonesia is Muslim and or Christian, and doesn't feel as safe to me.
Uh-huh.
I've been to other islands, and I can feel my sense of awareness elevate,
Mm-hmm.
and I am conscious again of my surroundings and whether or not I'm safe or not. It doesn't stop me from going.
That's what I wanted to hear.
That's what you wanted to hear.
That's what I wanted
It
to
doesn't stop me from going.
hear. Yeah.
Absolutely not, because at the heart of me, I'm an adventurer,
Uh-huh.
and so what I do to counteract that is I find people to travel with,
Uh-huh.
either other women, or I love to find men who are ready to take off and go somewhere, and
Uh-huh.
small groups of people. I don't like to travel with more than 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's too much to manage, but get a couple of other people.
Yeah.
In fact, we just did that about 2 weeks ago. 4 women, we all packed up one morning and very spontaneously and rode to another area of the island,
Mm-hmm.
spent 2 nights and came back.
Wow. I think it's so great because for most single women coming to Bali, it's still the eat, pray, love experience. And yours is so much more profound
Yeah,
in that it's empowering women to travel alone.
right.
And I mean, I agree with you. I think Bali's a great starter.
It's a great starter destination.
Great starter destination.
Great
It's
starter
so
destination.
great to hear that it's helped you
Yeah.
become more adventuresome. So, okay, let's just jump ahead then real quick.
Okay.
What would be the most radical place you would be willing to go to alone?
Wow.
Africa? Like somewhere in Africa?
So I have never
Russia.
traveled to Africa. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go. I've never heard of anyone doing it alone.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not sure I'm willing to jump into that.
Okay.
But I guess I would probably go to India, which I have a lot of trepidation, and I'm one of the few people that hasn't gone to India.
Uh-huh.
But as a woman, I think I would be willing to go to India because I feel like my experience traveling here in Indonesia and Malaysia and Thailand. I've been to those places, and I
Alone.
feel alone.
Okay.
And I feel like it's now prepared me to know how to navigate, because I've learned tools, and I know that that's something you're particularly interested
Right.
in. You're particularly interested in giving people the tools they need of, okay, you get to a new place. This is the first thing you do.
Uh-huh.
And once you learn some of these amazing basic first steps,
Right.
you can just about navigate anywhere.
Right. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
What's changed about your method of travel? What would you say has
I travel with almost nothing
now or before?
now.
Okay.
In fact, I travel with it's a little bit bigger than a briefcase,
Uh-huh.
and
Wow.
it's roll on, and
Okay.
it's a rolling bag. I'll give a plug. I use an Away. It's called a brief bag,
Right.
and it's got 2 sides to it. It's got a room for your computer, and I can put 2 weeks of clothes in there,
Uh-huh.
and I don't need 2 weeks of clothes.
Right. Right.
You don't need 2 weeks of clothes.
Right.
So I can use everything, and it's a roll-on bag, and I can go anywhere with it. And it's just,
And before you used to travel with a lot of luggage?
I can't believe the stuff I used to travel with.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would have these huge bags, and I have to be prepared for everything.
Yeah.
And now I go, I can buy it. It's so
I totally
inexpensive
agree.
here.
It's so great. Yeah.
It's like, do you really need it?
Right.
Do you really? In most cases, you don't really need it. Most cases.
I think it's one of the. There's so many things about Bali that have changed in the 30 years since I was here. It was definitely more difficult to get around. You didn't have the facilities or the opportunities. Medicine, clothes were more difficult. And now it's not just Bali, it's the whole world. You can essentially hop on a plane
Yep.
with an ATM card and go anywhere.
Anywhere.
And like you say, you don't need to bring anything because you can
Anything.
get it there. You can get it
And
there.
it's so inexpensive.
Yeah.
Compared to other
Right.
countries, the
Right.
Western countries, and you don't need much.
Right.
You
Right.
just don't need very much.
Right.
So learning to travel light and practically,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I mean, literally, if I've got my phone and a few of my cards, essential cards, and a change of clothes.
Uh-huh.
I'm good to go.
Right. Okay, so that grabbed your heart, the safety of here. What else about Bali?
How big the island is.
Yeah.
It's a big little island. What I also love about it is Bali has become, well, it's changing very fast. I will say that. It's changing very fast. The southern part of the island is very, very Western now, but the healthcare here is pretty exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really impressed. I've had a few pretty serious accidents here. Just the nature of riding a scooter and the roads and things. And my health care has been just excellent.
And not just traditional, like fixing a broken bone. What I love is the alternative therapies and medical procedures
Tons of them.
that you can get here that's cutting edge, the latest thing.
Right.
And it's here on this island. And again, it's so incredibly affordable. I was just reading the other day about embryonic stem cell, therapy.
They've got that.
They've got here. And it's,
And what are those hyperbaric chambers?
Yeah,
They've got
hyperbaric
chambers. And
yeah, which normally you only have near dive centers anyway.
Right.
No, I agree with you, and I think it's
And they have alternative plant medicine therapies,
right.
and where people are working with psychological, and there are a lot of professionals coming to the island from other countries who are setting up their professions here in Bali.
Right.
And it's really changing the way, it's changing what
And
people
I think
can-
we both
yeah.
had an experience with, illness or allergy or cough
Right.
or something where we have, been informed of a Balinese herbalist
Yeah,
that has, given us some
that has come down through that.
green drinky bottle thing to drink.
Exactly.
And we're both just amazed. We're like, we need to find what this is and bottle it and make a fortune. Of course, we're Westerners. We're like,
We're
we got to
Western.
make money off of this.
Yeah.
We got to make some money off of
And
this.
of course, it's been passed down in their family for
Yeah.
generations. And it has to be made fresh.
Yeah.
You have to drink it that day, or you
Right.
can refrigerate it. It has to be the next day.
Right.
But you have to, it's not like a shelf life thing,
Right.
you know?
What about the people here? What do you think? Let's first talk about the Balinese, then we'll talk about the gringos, the Boulets, the Westerners. But particularly, they're, roughly I'm being crude here, but there's
Okay.
two classes of Balinese. They're the ones who cater strictly to the West and often, drink and party with the Westerners down south, become drug dealers, whatever. But then there's the other flip side, which is the Balinese that are holding on to their culture and
Boy,
their
are
life. And I think that's what we love.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think this is going to be sustainable? We see plans of hotels, and this question has been around for 100 years, ever since
It has.
Westerners first came to Bali. But
Right.
what is the tenacity? What is making them so tenacious to hang on to their culture, do you think?
Yeah.
You're a spiritual person.
Yeah,
Go-
I am.
Go that,
I am.
go that route.
I'm a deeply spiritual person. I think, I have one Balinese family here that I'm extremely close to, and I've been close to them now for 3.5 years, and I've known them long enough now that we actually drop into some serious discussions,
Uh-huh.
and we have had very serious discussions about a lot of people from the other islands are coming to Bali, and they're of the Muslim or Christian faith, and they're coming because there's work here. There's there's money here, but what that does is that also, when they come, they bring their own religions with them.
Right.
And so the Balinese are becoming extremely concerned about the way that is influencing not only their economy but their customs. And I think they're deeply concerned about their children being influenced. And in the case of my friends, they have 2 boys, and there is a very, very specific responsibility for each child depending on where they're born. And like if you're child number 1, 2, or 3, and there's specific responsibilities in the family. And the entire Balinese culture is built on Hinduism, yes, but it's also built on animism, which is underneath that. And so a love of the land, a love of nature.
Briefly explain animism.
Animism, yeah.
Because I think most people hear that, but they don't really know what it means.
Yeah. So animism is the respect and love and belief that the earth is what cares for us.
Mm-hmm.
That literally the term Mother Earth, animism is the association that nature is, we are one with nature, and that we have a relationship with nature. So in the case of the Balinese in particular, like Mount Agun is super sacred mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fire mountain, it's the volcano, and that's where the dragon lives, and he's the protector of the island, you know? So there's this crossover of mythical and nature and their Hindu belief system.
And I love
and it all gets rolled in.
that you mentioned Agun, because
Yeah.
one of the things that first fascinated me 30 years ago was that they worship demons, but the demons are not the demons that we grew up with.
Exactly.
The demons are, they can kill you, they can hurt you, but they also care for you.
Right, exactly.
And it's such an interesting.
And isn't it beautiful, Bert, how
Yeah.
when they do offerings every day, faithfully.
Every day.
And some of the offerings are put on the ground for the
Yes.
demons that are down there
Right.
at the low level, and then some are put up high on their offering
Yeah.
platforms. So, yeah.
I agree. I think it's phenomenal.
And I think that there's the thing about their tenacity of wanting to keep their culture, it's not about hanging onto their culture. I think they actually love the way they live.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
genuinely respect life, and they live at a pace. And I actually compared the Balinese culture to the culture in southern Mexico
Okay.
because it's family based.
Right.
Everything is built on family relationships, and just like Mexico, they live in compounds together.
You're talking about like Chiapas? And
Yeah, I think Oaxaca.
Okay.
Yeah, places where it's away from the American border,
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but deeper in the southern part of
Uh-huh.
Mexico, and their religion is around pretty much the Madonna and Mother Mary, and here it's around. But it's the family. The family
Yeah, yeah.
is the core.
I thought it was interesting because we both came here, and we were here during the pandemic, which was a great time to be
It was
here.
a great time to be
Great
here.
time to be here.
Great time to be here.
No question about it. But it's like, you see peasantry, but not poverty. You don't see people
Correct.
starving on the street, living homeless. Everybody is connected to family. They have a place to live. They own a rice field somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going hungry. Their car payments are coming due, but they're not being kicked out of their houses.
Exactly. The
Which
bank's
is-
not coming after
Which
them.
is, what happens in America.
America. I know. I think one of the most heartbreaking aspects of returning to America, which I'm about to for a couple of months, my annual trip, is to see the condition of the people in America. It's tragic.
Right.
So I think there's a way in which the culture, the belief system,
we're getting a beautiful rain.
we're getting a beautiful
We're getting a
afternoon
beautiful
rain.
It's so wonderful when it rains here.
Woohoo! Yeah, it is beautiful. Just the
Yeah,
sound
I mean,
of the rain.
even in Northern California, where we're from, it's like
Yeah.
we live in a bubble of luxury, and yet the
Mm-hmm.
poverty level has so increased in that area.
Elevated. And I heard for the other day that it's the fastest growing population in America of homeless people are single women.
Single women, of
Not
course.
not just white women,
Right.
not black, but
Right.
single women.
Single women.
The fastest growing population in America of homeless people. And I thought, that's tragic.
That's terrible.
I mean, there's something very wrong with the system.
Right.
And one of my dearest friends is moving back to her home state. She's lived in California since she was 21, and she's about to move back to her home state because she can't afford to live in California
Wow.
anymore.
Wow.
So, and she's now in her 60s. So, yeah, so things are pretty rough back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here we are.
Right.
We're traveling and we're having a wonderful life.
What does the future hold for you? How do you intend to stay here the rest of your life at this point? Do you plan on, are you making a living here? Are you able to support yourself? Are you,
Yeah.
how do you get, well, let's go with that. How do you get by? on a
Right.
daily basis?
Well, I am drawing Social Security now,
Uh-huh.
and that is adequate to care for my basic needs. But I up until June of this past year, I was working contracts in Europe and America. But do I plan to live here? So other people ask me other people who are expats here, they say, "Are you going to stay?" And I went, "I'm here now.
Yeah.
I'm here now." And my attitude is, I don't have any plans to go anywhere.
Right.
I really have grown to love living here.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I noticed the other day I was riding back on my scooter and I had to go somewhere on the other side of town, and I realized I know how to navigate there without a map.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in my head now.
Right.
I'm in my hood,
Yeah.
and I can probably ride within a 20-mile or 20-kilometer area, and that's a long way in Bali.
Right.
So
Right.
I can ride
Sure
a
is.
20-kilometer area and know where I am.
Yeah.
And know how to get to the next part of where I'm going. So I think it's those kind of things that make you start feeling at ease.
Uh-huh.
They give you the ability to relax. Like sometimes when I turn and we're at my villa right now,
Right.
and I walk through my door and I go,
Yeah.
I'm home.
Well, yeah.
And that feeling of just, I know I'm safe here.
I
can
don't think
relax here.
I don't think I grew up with a strong sense of community for whatever reason. Might have been me.
Yeah.
But I know that when I lived in Tamales in Northern California, as you well know, I was from a town of 200 people, and I developed that sense of what community means.
Could be. Right.
And could be. And I honestly didn't think I'd ever leave that area. When I first drove up there, I, said, I'm going to die here. See that graveyard? That's where I'm going to be buried. And leaving and coming over here, it wasn't so much a big deal because I think it was rather spontaneous. I think if I'd really thought about it for any length of time, I maybe wouldn't have done it the way I
Right.
did it.
Right.
I wouldn't be here. And I know when I came here, I thought in terms of, well, it might be for a long time. And I know that now that I'm here, first off, I developed a community around me so quickly here.
Yes.
Not only a Balinese family and friends.
You're playing bridge. You're
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
You're playing. You have all these amazing groups of people.
But
that
it was just, I think what happened with the Balinese in particular
right.
is
right.
they're not ageist.
No.
Right away, I made friends with 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old,
Exactly.
and they're still my friends. They're on my speed dial,
Right.
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 And then, I moved into a family compound where, and there, part of it's a false sense of security because every now and then you have a weird encounter with a Balinese person who says, you're a foreigner, you're taking, you people don't belong in my country, but I mean,
That's pretty rare.
that just
I don't- never hap-
that happened to me just yesterday, a couple of
Really?
yeah.
And it was a
Because-
Balinese person.
Well, it was because I bought something on Tokopedia, and then they wanted to up the price, and I said, you listed at this much, now you're asking double, you're a thief. And they just went overboard. We're like, how dare you say, call me a thief? It's like, you people come here and you leave if you don't like, anyway. And I was like, well, you're a thief. That's all there is to it. But generally, I do not have bad encounters, and I'm
No,
amazed at how
very rare.
quickly, we met, the people I've met that are expats living here. I think when you meet, you immediately develop a close bond for some reason. Maybe because it's like, well, I'm only going to see you for 5 minutes so I can bare my soul. Or maybe it's, wow, I really like you. I need to cling to you because I don't know when I'll see you again kind of thing.
Well, I think that one of the greatest gifts is you learn discernment
Yeah.
about who, because there are people from all over the world here and all
Yes.
different cultures.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite things.
Oh,
I
it's
mean, I know
awesome.
people from the Ukraine, from Turkey, from Russia, from France.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just from Iceland.
It's a checklist.
I met somebody the other day from, I don't know, it was like Georgia.
Right.
And I went, I have
Not
never
the
met
state,
anyone from
but the
Georgia.
country,
Yeah,
yeah.
the country,
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of thing. So I'm starting to understand that that I am responsible to have a level of discernment about, and so I've learned to be slower about what I reveal to someone, and I start asking a whole lot more questions and
Right.
drawing them out and getting to know them better, and then through time we develop these strong friendships. In the case of you and I, coming from America, an identical culture, understanding of our culture, we had an immediately like for each other, but we knew that we needed to have this level of, I don't know, as responsibility.
Uh-huh.
So like, we knew we needed to have someone who was our emergency contact.
I think it
You
was
know?
also an incredible high degree of mutual respect that
Yes.
I felt with you, but also with the Balinese people I meet.
Yeah.
I know that in the first year or so when we met, we would sit down and disagree on certain
Yep.
things.
Yep.
And you probably did the same thing. I would go home and I would think, I want to wring her neck, but I really enjoy talking to her. I want to wring her neck, but I really enjoy talking, And I'm sure you had a similar response because we were discovering each other.
Right.
But it was like an amazing sense of respect,
Yeah.
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 And I feel like that. I mean, I know that like one of the first Balinese I met was a guy at my gym, and I know he was hoping to make a few bucks off of me. And he, I did. He did, because he didn't make that much. But it developed into a friendship of respect. And now it's like his wife came to me 2 or 3 days ago crying because of some incident that had occurred on her telephone with somebody stalking her, and she didn't want her husband to know about it and wanted my help, And I'm like, okay,
This is a whole new level.
that's a new level of family connection.
Family connection, yeah. That's interesting. I will say that my relationships with the Bali family, I can honestly say, and this is not something I can say I've said to a few people. I would trust them with my life.
Oh, 100%.
They're incredibly honorable
Yeah,
and trustworthy, and I know because they've shown me with their
Right.
behavior, they're there for me in a heartbeat.
and on the other hand, I would be there for them.
I
I would
absolutely.
absolutely be there for them, and I
Absolutely.
can't say that about a lot of people I know in America.
Right.
Honestly, I can't. Maybe even people I've known the longest, I'm not sure,
Well, I think
Yeah.
that what's interesting because one of the wife got into a little scooter accident and couldn't work for a week.
Uh-huh.
And I went over every single day for a week and took care of her and, just for 3 or 4 hours a day.
Sure.
But the thing that
That's a
was-
lot. That's a lot.
And it was such and that you would have thought I was bringing a gold brick to them every day.
Right.
And they were so blown away. They couldn't believe that I would, and so because they're trained in this society to always please us
Right.
and to
right.
make sure we're happy, and so for it to be on the other foot,
Yeah.
for me to be serving them, it was a real powerful moment in their
Yes.
journey as Balinese.
And it's interesting because I feel humbled by being here. And I feel like I've always been kind of proud of my integrity, felt like I was a compassionate person, but I feel like what I've learned from being here about compassion, integrity, is just taken me to a new level.
Whole new level.
A whole new level. And so it's been, being in Bali has been such a ongoing growing experience for me. And it's almost, becoming the person I like to think was always inside,
Right.
And for whatever reason, I hadn't chipped away all the bullshit yet, It's like, I refer to it as a sculptor. They don't, good sculptors don't say, I'm creating this, I'm removing everything that doesn't belong.
A lot. Yeah.
And I feel that's what Bali has done to me in a sense.
And I feel like also, I think we would say that about each other. That
Yeah.
we can see how we've each softened, we've each changed and become better people
Yeah,
because we had the courage to come live here.
right.
And the first thing it took was the courage to just visit.
Right.
just to come for a visit.
Just to come, yeah.
And then once we're here for a visit, and what's interesting to me is how, especially Americans,
Right.
they'll come for 2 weeks.
Right.
And that's like, they couldn't comprehend staying any longer than
Right.
2 weeks.
Right.
And it's like, when you come to Bali, if you can afford to come for a month or two,
Yeah.
that's ideal.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I agree.
ideal.
I agree. What do you think the future holds
For us,
for you?
wow, that's a pretty expansive question. Well, first of
Well,
all,
with Bali.
I'm probably in the I'm in the best mental, physical, and emotional health I've been in maybe in my entire life.
It's worth a lot. That's worth
That's
a
worth
lot.
a whole lot.
That's worth a lot.
And so the fact that, I mean, looking back at my 30-year career in Silicon Valley, you know, San Francisco area, and how hard I worked, and I was young, and thank goodness I was young, but the reality was I wasn't mentally and emotionally a healthy, happy person.
Yeah.
Not as like I am now.
Right.
I feel like it's kind of like connected to what you just said. I feel like I have like become the woman that I was always meant to be,
Right.
and that I have a tremendous amount of capacity for kindness
Right.
and for compassion now that I didn't have before.
Yeah. I don't know what the future holds.
I
And
didn't answer your question, but
No, but I'm going to answer it for you. So I don't know what the future holds, but I don't have any doubts. I don't have any apprehensions or worries
that's
about
true.
the future. And
I
it's
don't
not
either.
like I'm financially set, you know,
Right,
like you.
right.
You know, it's like, I mean, who knows what the world's going to happen. But being here has given me this like wonderful outlook on life,
Right.
which I always had to some degree, but it's just, I think the country's
It's expanded.
has transformed.
Yeah.
Has transformed
There's
me.
something about the culture, the belief system.
Yeah.
People talk about the spirits or the energy of Bali,
Yeah.
and how Bali has its own. She'll do with you what she will.
She'll do with you what she will.
She'll
Yeah.
do with you what she will, and that is a true statement.
It's totally true. Yep.
She'll do with you what she will.
Yep. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
This is the Cruising the Highway Tomorrow podcast. Lana, honey.
Yep.
Love you, brother.
That is true.